Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, your host, and the question of the day is relationships and how to make sure that you are not sabotaging them because of some of the things that are going on in your life, as well as just how can you make things better for yourself, your spouse, your partner, your kids, and also your employees and workmates. So without further ado, Diane McDowell is in the house, and I'm going to let her introduce herself to us.
Hi, thank you so much, Charisse. So, my name is Diane, and I'm a mental health therapist by training, and I have moved into coaching, and I work on relationships. I call myself an emotional safety expert because what I have found, and I'll kind of walk you through my story of how I got here, but what I have found is that emotional safety is the key before you can use all the other tools. So most of us are taught like improve your communication, learn your love language, do date nights. But all those things are great, but they don't work when our brain is in hijack mode and we are seeing our partner as unsafe, or we're feeling like pressure in our chest and our breathing changes and we're wanting to attack. So a lot of times people will text me and say, we need help with communication to start services. And I'm like, I don't think it's communication. Most of us have communication skills. Most of us don't have the ability to anchor ourselves, to calm ourselves. I call it the brain to heart code, where we learn to get out of our brain and into our body and be present in our body. So I'm going to kind of go backward and say what I started learning with myself was that I had all the skills. I had all the training. I knew what I was supposed to do, but I couldn't do it in the moment. I've been married in next week, it'll be 24 years. And I struggled with saying mean things, getting hijacked, and just not showing up as the partner I wanted to be. But I knew what I was supposed to do, but I didn't know how to do it. And so that's kind of where this journey started, was learning how to actually, what do I need to do to be able to use the skills I know?
I love that you said that, because my book, Flipping the Iceberg, it's all about relationships and getting into it. And now my second book that's coming out soon, it's After the I Do. I have these conversations, like I'm writing about what to do. And then my husband walks in the room and he doesn't do something that I appreciated. That's a nice way of saying it. And like, I'm mad. And I think, Kate, this is wrong. So I love that you recognize, first of all, okay, I have all the skills, but how do I implement it and actually put it into practice? And so you talk about the brain hijack. And
Yeah.
so I love those words. Can you describe to us what that is?
Yeah. So when our brain is hijacked, and when we should think about it, literally is hijacked. Our brain is designed to scan for danger. Our brain is designed to keep us safe. And you can call it your back brain, your reptile brain, your brain that's your survival brain is designed to keep you alive. So it's scanning for danger. And our reptile brain literally will say, we will die if we are excommunicated. So back in the day, if we didn't belong to a tribe, we would die. So our brain says, if they don't like me, then I'm going to die. And our brain literally gets freaked out and sees this person as a threat. So we have to learn to recognize when we get into our back brain or our reptile brain and be able to re-access our prefrontal lobe, which is our wise, logical brain. And so what I teach people to do is really learn how to recognize it, become the wise watcher of it, notice it, and then start talking it down, reassuring yourself, comforting yourself. What most of us try to do is we try to change their behavior. If they wouldn't do that, then I would feel better. If they wouldn't say those things, then I would be okay. But we're outsourcing our well-being to somebody else's behavior. And so what I teach people to do is inside out. Do it from your inside first, You create that safety. Don't outsource your safety, emotional safety to other people. You create your own emotional safety. You learn how to ground yourself. You learn how to soothe that reptile brain that gets scared and says danger, danger when you're really not in danger. And then you're not counting on someone else's behavior to influence your mood.
And that to me is so freeing. I'll give it as a stupid example. And my husband, for the first time in 15 years, okay, so this, like, let's set the stage. 15 years. He ends up after work, he goes over to one of his coworkers' houses because his coworker is super lonely. I didn't know this part of it, right? He's bored, I should say, because his wife is, it's a very busy time of year. And so he gets around the house and he doesn't like that. So my husband decides to go out there and he ends up like he texts me and he's like, I'm going to be at so and so's for a while. So I'm like, a while. And this is a 45-minute drive away. So, and it's the opposite way of where he's coming home. So I'm thinking, okay, first of all, there's no planning or preparation. Like I have this meeting I always do. And so he could have been home with the girls. Long story short, I was upset that he hadn't called me during that 45-minute drive because I hadn't been able to talk to him all day and I would have liked to. So by 10 o'clock at night now, I'm fuming. So by the time he comes home, I am angry and I don't even want to talk to him. And so, like, I've done so much research and studying and coaching and all this stuff. I know it's not him. And I don't care if he wants to go play with his friends. Great. Good for him. He needs that once in a while. So why was I so angry? And so when he's trying to talk to me, I'm like, I don't want to talk to you because I
Yeah.
knew that I'd say stuff that I didn't mean or that it's just it wasn't a good
Yeah.
time because I was so emotionally enraged. And so I love that you talk about hijacking because it's I didn't want to talk to him because I had to figure out why I was so upset. It had nothing to do with him. He can go do whatever he wants to do. I don't control him. But why was I so upset? Why was I so hurt? And I think that a lot of times um, we as people end up reacting not because of what they really did necessarily.
Mhm.
It's how we interpreted it, how it made us feel. Would you agree with that? Not agree with that?
100% agree. I have 2 points there. One is I call it adding meaning. We add meaning. They
Hmm.
don't respect me. They don't value my time. They should have. And so we have shoulds. We have a lot of,
Right.
I suggest getting rid of shoulds, ought tos, and have tos. But the meaning we add is one thing. The other thing is most of the time we're mad at someone else.
Hmm.
We're really mad at ourselves
Oh
because we
yeah.
didn't speak our truth.
Hmm.
So really, when you started feeling yourself feeling like, okay, I'm a little off about this, speaking that out to him, just saying, hey, I'm good with you going, but I just need to say that I'm frustrated
Hmm.
with no intention to change. And knowing like your reason is one of the things I teach. So knowing like your reason for why you're saying it. And I'm saying it to honor me and speak my truth, not to change your behavior.
Love that.
So it's like, hey, I'm frustrated. Go ahead and do it. But yes, I'm frustrated. So
Hmm.
when somebody says something and our feelings get hurt, I think it's very important just to say, ouch, that hurt.
Hmm.
Not to say you shouldn't have said that. That's not our business, whether they should or shouldn't have said it. That's their decision. But it's honoring and speaking our truth instead of burying it. A lot of times, what we do is we have this turmoil underneath and we keep trying to slap on a
Right.
better thought, but we haven't been honest with the turmoil underneath.
So how do you get honest with that turmoil? Because a lot of people don't. Like I know people that, without getting too personal, they'll get into a room and, well, uh, it. I try not to talk about other people. Like I'll share everything about me all day, every day. I don't care. If you can learn from it, great. But somebody else, they're always like, why are you so open about stuff? I'm like, well, again, if they can learn. So I'm trying to be respectful. But this person asks, like this person gets super, super angry. And this third party person's like, why are you so angry? And the person couldn't answer. It was like deer in a headlight. To this day, I still would love to know the answer to the question that other person asked that they weren't able to answer. And so, how do you get real with yourself? Because a lot of people just keep burying it, keep pushing away. And it, in my opinion, keeps festering. Kind of like a tree, you cut it down,
Yeah.
and yet the roots keep coming up everywhere. I feel like it starts like if you haven't dealt with that tree or the stump, the roots keep, it manifests in other places.
Yes, totally. I describe it a little different, but totally that. It's the what happens is we have addressed emotional turmoil and we slap better thoughts on, what will happen is a lot of passive aggressive comments, a little
Mhm.
jab here, a little comment there. And people will say to me, I don't know why I make those comments. Well, it's because you haven't been honest about the stuff underneath. You haven't been honest about that. So it seeps out into other areas of your life. So your question is, how do I get honest with that?
Mhm.
And it's becoming the wise watcher. It's starting to notice and watch. So what I teach people to do, this kind of jumping ahead, but I teach people to name their brain and have conversations with their brain.
Oh,
Build a relationship with your brain. Befriend it. Your brain is just trying to protect you.
mhm.
So when your brain says this person shouldn't have done that, you're like, oh. And so we create distance by saying, I'm noticing. So I'm noticing my brain telling me dot, dot, dot.
Mhm.
I'm noticing I think they should have dot, dot, dot. So you
Mhm.
start to become the noticer of your experience. And that when we notice it, it creates distance between us. It's like you can't read a piece of paper when it's on your nose because it's too close.
Mhm.
You can't have insight about yourself because you are you.
Mhm.
When you step outside and you start becoming the observer of you, you can start having insight.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we are the lover and the lovey of ourselves.
Mhm.
It's hard to be the lover of ourselves. So we have to picture someone else a lot of times and think of your best friend and how would you talk to them? Now I can talk to myself that way because I thought about it. But when it's me, it's hard for me to see myself objectively. So
Mhm.
creating a distance and saying, I'm noticing this, I'm noticing that, you become the wise watcher and
Mhm.
you can start to notice what's triggering you. I get mad when I think people treat other people poorly, and you can start to watch yourself and get insight about yourself.
See, I love that. And that's the question I've started asking myself is why am I acting like this? Why am I responding to this? Like, I do not get mad. I travel hundreds of miles every day, right? I'm a real estate agent. And so um I drive a lot and I get cut off a lot. I get almost hit almost every day. Usually when I'm talking to this one particular daughter of mine, she will hear me die one day. So I think it's just it doesn't bother me. And yet other people get so angry and they just start yelling at that person and stuff. And so I think for me, it's like, you start asking yourself, why is that making me so upset? What am I triggered about? Is it really the person that just cut me off, or is it because I didn't have control over this? Like, if we can identify those issues, then you can have a conversation with it. And like, I love that where you say you name your brain so you can have a conversation. Like, why are you holding on to this feeling that happened when you were in third grade?
Yeah. Yeah. I love your questions. I teach a little bit different doing questions though, because
Mhm.
if you think about why makes us defensive a lot of times. So
Okay.
I'm more of a, I'm wondering what's going on for me. I'm curious about what's triggered for me. Because when we ask why, it's just this
Yeah.
it tends to have a negative connotation, more like a criticism versus a true curiosity.
Yeah.
So, yes, 100% asking your brain that. One of the things I use as an example when I talk to my clients is I call my best friend. And if I'm upset about something with my husband, I call my best friend not to talk about my husband, but to talk about what's going on for me. What is
Mhm.
happening for me that I'm so bothered by this thing? It's
Mhm.
never about the other person. It's about what's going on for me that I am taking, making, adding meaning, that I'm upset about this. So instead of talking about somebody else and what they did, looking at what's the trigger for me? What is it that I want to learn from this? What am I understanding more about myself because of this?
That is so powerful because you hear a lot like if you're always unloading on your best friend tends to not like your husband after a while because they never
Yes.
see the makeup session.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Don't
Yeah.
know
I know
the
what you mean.
conversation afterwards.
Yeah.
Or even your parents, like when you call your parents and you're like, then that gives them the bad taste about your husband that you can never take back because they don't see that everything was remedied and everything's fine. And that quite frankly, you could have been in the wrong, but of course you're gonna like describe it in a way that makes you in the right. And so I think that talking about yourself, which is what you can control,
Yeah.
is way more productive than somebody that you can't control.
Yeah. I would say there's another part to that. Totally agree with that. I would add another part in that we used to think venting was useful. We used to have this policy, it works with open door policy. You can come in and vent in the office anytime you need to. But what we've actually learned is venting is not productive because it reinforces that negative and we get a dopamine hit by venting, but then we need another dopamine hit. We need another dopamine hit. So we have to keep venting to feel better. So venting is generally, and there are times, but generally it's not as productive as we think.
No, that makes sense because I know a few people that I'll ask them, how many other people have you told today about the
Yeah.
same thing? Like, am I number 20? And it's like so much. And so, yeah, it doesn't solve anything. That's a good point. All right. So what is one of the misconceptions about relationship advice that differs from what you do?
Yeah. And I would say one thing and the biggest thing that I see is it's not necessarily communication or date nights or love languages. It's learning how to manage yourself. It's learning how to befriend yourself and understand what's happening for you. It's learning how to become the watcher and not get hijacked.
Mhm.
Um, and so the brain to heart code is really what I teach, like being present in your body, noticing where do I feel the tension. Our brain is designed to think. We love to think. We have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Like 90% of them are regurgitated thoughts from the day before. So learning how to um, notice what you're thinking and decide, is it useful? And starting to kind of tweak it. Like, is this thought about my partner or my relationship useful? Do
Mhm.
I want to keep thinking about them this way? And so when you say what are the biggest misconceptions? What I want to say is they don't make you feel anything. They don't make you do anything. It's your decision to decide how you show up.
That makes a lot of sense because to add one more to that, that's recurring thoughts, but then a lot of them, a majority of them are negative thoughts. And so I was having a conversation with someone just this weekend, and they talk about how this negative self, like all these thoughts keep coming in. I'm like, you have to learn how to like talk back to those and say, that's not true. I don't agree with you. I don't have to believe that because it is so easy to get in your brain, like to get inside yourself. And like, again, we're supposed to protect ourselves. So when we're trying to grow and we're trying to improve ourselves, that's when this, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. And to talk back and say, yes, you can, and yes, you will, is much more powerful. So I love that you had talked about that. It's
Yeah.
very good advice.
One of the things I teach the people I work with, it's acceptance and commitment therapy, but it's really about accepting where you are and what's going on and that you are going to have these thoughts. And one of the things I really teach is what tiger are you going to feed? What thoughts you're going to feed? They call it tiger.
Yeah.
But whatever tiger you feed gets bigger and more demanding and needs more food to keep growing. Whatever you don't feed will wither.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with our thoughts. So you just let them drift on by. I
Mhm.
use the analogy, it's like cars at a highway. You're standing at a highway and cars zoom, zoom, zoom. And the minute you judge your thoughts, I shouldn't have this thought. Why am I like this? You create a traffic jam. But
Mhm.
when you can just let the thoughts zoom on by, they just keep going. You don't give them any
Mhm.
attention.
I like that.
And so when you start noticing you're judging your thoughts about your partner, they shouldn't be that way. Why can't they be like somebody else's partner? When we start noticing that, we create a traffic jam. And
Mhm.
then our brain gets kind of caught up in all this stuff. Whereas if you can just go, oh, there's that thought again. Oh,
Mhm.
there it is again. And you just let it keep on going by.
It's so good. So the nervous system, I've talked with a lot of people lately, and the nervous system tends to get brought up quite a bit. So you talked about the traffic jam and the thinking and things. How does that affect the nervous system? How does it all work together?
Okay. So a lot of what we've talked about so far is really mindset
Yeah.
stuff. And I love mindset stuff. But
Mhm.
again, mindset stuff is just a part of it.
Right.
Learning how to notice your thoughts and your mindset and what are you focusing on. That is more superficial. When we talk about nervous system, I want you to think about what you neurons that fire together, wire together, that create a state of mind, that create a trait in us. So the more we think about something, the more that wires together in our brain. So it's like a path you walk in the woods. The more you walk it, the easier it becomes. We are creating that neuropath in our brain.
Mhm.
So it's not just, we're not talking mindset. We're talking mindset is part of it, but we're talking nervous system. We are talking neuropaths in our brain that we are changing. At night when we sleep, our neuropaths cover up the old ones we don't use anymore and we create new ones. So as we do this work, we really want to like create that in our body. We step into it. So I use the analogy of a dressing room. When you go try on clothes, you put them on, you're like, do I like this? Does this feels like me? Do I like, like, is this me? You're doing that with your thoughts and your nervous system. You're stepping into a dressing room and you're trying on, how do I like who I am with this partner? Are there things I want to change? And you're stepping into that person. You're not just changing your mindset, you're feeling it. What does it feel like to see myself as this person? What does it feel like to be this person? And so you are changing your brain and calming your nervous system. So if you think about your gut has a nervous system, it has
Mhm.
like a brain, your
Yes.
heart does, and then you have your brain. They all communicate. So you're not just staying in your head, that's more mindset. You're
Mhm.
in your heart, you're in your body, you're communicating with it. You're asking it, now, how do you feel about this? Does this feel right for you?
Okay, first of all, you have validated so many things for me because I talk about like every single thing that you talk about. The wolf, I call it the wolf, not the tiger, and the gut, the brain, the heart. And it is. And as soon as you can, as you're rewiring, now you're creating, I love that, the pathways where you're thinking differently now. And so it's now going to become almost automatic. Whereas before, like I used to be super negative, super down, all this stuff. And as I start to like go that way, it's almost automatic now. It's like, nope, it's not true. Nope, it's nope. Like this one, I
Yeah.
was walking, I dropped my son off today to his doctor's appointment, and I'm walking in, and this lady comes walking out, and I'm like, oh, she's probably going to say something. Why would she say something? We don't know each other, and it's going to be negative. And then I thought, wait a second. I'm like, my response would have been not as good, but it's it's helping. It's helping to stay positive and be a positive person. And I'm happier now because of that. Because I
Yes.
think that that's the part that, and I've been working on it for like 5 or 6 years, and so it's not something that's overnight, but it does. You can rewire things, and it can work to be different. And like the victim mentality, when we like if you're living in that victim mentality, which I was there with my first marriage for 15 years, and I get out of it now. I watch people who are so unhappy, and I'm like, oh, you need to stop being a victim. I'm not saying get out of your marriage. I'm just saying stop being a victim.
Yeah. But victim mentality, that is a learned behavior.
It
And
is.
that's what, and so it's changing that neuropath and recognizing, oh,
Hmm.
I've got this victim mentality. I'm stepping back into that.
Hmm.
And you literally like picture stepping into the future you. I tell people to create a relationship with their future self.
Hmm.
So I'm 53 and I think about what is my 54-year-old self doing? What is she, how does she talk? How is she showing up? And I step into that person and then I start becoming that person. I mean, we're going to become that person, but
Hmm.
we decide ahead of time who we want to be and we start stepping into her. So you start creating that relationship with her where you start becoming her.
That is so fantastic. And I'm visual. So the idea of sitting in a dressing room, trying on the new me, beautiful. That is such a good analogy.
The more nervous, like the more of your five senses you use, the more you will take on this identity. So I tell people, speak it out loud,
Yeah.
record yourself and listen back. Like take on that identity, picture it, imagine, visualize. There's study after study about how visualization changes our brain. And so using all of your senses to become the person you are headed toward.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that
Uh,
is where you start really changing your nervous system. You're not just thinking it, you are like
mhm.
stepping into it.
So what, besides calling you, or buying my book, what is the first step that you would recommend if this is resonating with a listener and they're like, you know what, I'm not happy with who I am anymore, and I need to make a change. And it could be like pursuing that business goal that they have been wanting to do for years. It could be improving their relationship with their spouse or their children. It could be starting this company or quitting their 9 to 5. Like whatever it is, what is your advice to these people?
Start watching yourself. It is amazing to me. We are not insightful people. We think we are. As humans, we think we're insightful.
Mhm.
But I am so amazed how we will do the exact same thing we think other people should do, and we don't even see it in ourselves. Here's a quick example,
So
and this
true.
happened a couple years ago. I don't keep pop in the house because if I have pop in the house, I drink it. So if I'm going to get some, so I said to my husband, "Hey, you want to go for a quick lunch date? Let's go get a pop." We go to the gas station. It was $1.75. He was like, "That's ridiculous. That's too much." And so I was I was kind of embarrassed, and I was like upset. And then so I'm like telling him, just pay for it because I didn't take my wallet. And as we're going outside, he was like, I was trying to teach them that that was ridiculous. That was too much. And as we're walking outside, I realized I was trying to teach him that he shouldn't make a scene. I was doing the exact same thing he was doing, and I didn't see it at the time. It took me like stepping back. A lot of times we are doing what we are telling other people not to do, but we don't
Oh yeah.
have that insight,
Mhm.
or we're judging other people and we're the ones doing it ourselves. So the first thing to do is start to really become your own watcher. Be honest with yourself. Learn to embrace the parts of you that you don't really like,
Mhm.
because those parts of us are parts of us. We all have lots of different parts: the judging part, the critical part, the loving part, the friendship part, and really starting to see the parts of us that we don't like and befriend them,
Mhm.
because that's when we have control or we can manage them. When we are trying to get rid of them, when we're like, I don't like that part of me, I'm trying to get rid of it, then it shows up more. What you resist will persist.
I love that. There's a few people that are going to have to listen to this. I might just send it, share it, and me as well, right? But it's so true because I know some people that they'll complain about something or someone, and then I'm like, well, how does that differ from when you did this? And they're like, ah, and
Yeah.
it's true. And so here I am, this third party person watching how these people keep fighting with each other, and I'm like, you're doing the same thing. No, I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
would say that's the first step, is really getting honest with yourself and become the wise watcher and really start noticing, how do I show up? And what I use the example, if I have, here's my cup. If I have a cup of water,
Mhm.
it's like my brain juice. So every day I have 1 cup of brain juice. Where am I putting it? If I'm putting it on someone else, it's like I'm flushing it down the toilet. So
Mhm.
I need to take all that brain juice back and put it on me, where I do have control. So anytime I start thinking about, well, they shouldn't, or they should, or I'm
Mhm.
wasting my brain juice. Bring my brain juice back to me and how I want to show up. Who do I want to be? And really focusing on making myself step into the person I want to be.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
You're
I'll
welcome.
just say amen on that. Okay, so our time is up, but I do want to ask about being a mother, because it is mompreneurs. And so I know that work with a lot of different people, especially women that also have children. If you could give any advice to a young mother that's just starting out, and not necessarily being like as a young mother, just, hey, I wish I would have known this as a mom, what would you say?
I wish I would have known as a mom that nothing is as dramatic as it feels at the time.
That's so true. That's so true.
My daughter has Down syndrome, and I felt like I was always stressed out about her therapies and making sure she got all the right things. And I'm like, now I can look back. She's 19 now. But now I can look back and go, it was never as dramatic as it seemed.
That is true. And time is like it just goes so fast. And what you think, like my son who's dealing with this horrible ankle surgery and thinks it's a long story, but when we're through this process, we're going to be like, oh, it was only 6 months. That went by really fast. Right now, it seems like it's taking forever for he and I, since I get to drive him everywhere. But um, time goes, and enjoy that time. Like, okay, now I get to have him in the car with me all the time. And so we can talk and we can enjoy and we can spend time together and look for the positive instead of the negative, like, oh, I'm just your Uber driver.
Yeah.
I've said.
And it's so interesting to be able to say, like, it'll go so fast,
Hmm.
and it will, but on the other hand, when you're in it, it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it feels like so much.
Yeah.
But trying to figure out, how can I enjoy it
Hmm.
even though it feels like that so much.
That's true. Yep. Enjoy the here and now because you'll regret it later. You wish you would have had that time back.
Yeah. I listened to somebody's parenting thing one time and they said, all the things you don't like when they're little are all the things you wish they did when they're older.
Amen to that. Okay, not scribbling on all my walls or, I'll pass on that, but
But like when they're little, they won't stop talking. When they're
yeah,
older, you can't
yeah,
get them to talk.
that's
When they're
true.
little, they're picky and won't eat. When they're older, you
Mhm.
can't get them to stop
I know.
eating. Like so all the things that kind of flip over when they get older.
That's a good point. That's so true. Well, if our listeners wanted to learn more about you and get a hold of you, how would they do that?
Emotionalsafetyco.com. So it's emotionalsafetyco.com. And there's free resources, and there's a quiz you can take about relationships. And then there's also a mini course to help you with understanding your brain hijack.
Diane, thank you so much for being on. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.